Good morning. We will start our Rules Committee meeting and call this meeting to order. Councilor Garvin, would you please bless this meeting? And would you hold it down back there?
Father in heaven, we thank you for this beautiful day. We thank you for this time together. We ask now that you would lead us and guide us as we make decisions for our Cherokee Nation. Forgive us for our sins. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Sorry, still there? I'm just kidding back there. I'm glad you're having a good time.
Some good coffee, good tea.
Yeah, somebody's got some good caffeine. We'll do the roll call. Shelley?
Yes, sir. Joe Bird.
Honey?
Frankie Hargis.
Present.
Bill England.
Honey.
Keith Austin.
Here.
Jack Baker. Harley Buzzard. Sean Crittenden.
Honey.
Don Garvin. Wanda Hatfield. Rex Jordan.
Here.
Dick Lay.
Honey.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
Janice Taylor. Here. David Thornton. Victoria Vasquez. Honey. David Walkenstick. Brian Warner.
Okay, we have a quorum. Approval of minutes.
So moved. Second.
Motion and second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Ayes have it. Reports. Do we have our marshal here?
I'm as close as you get today.
That's good.
Danny Tanner sitting in for Shannon Buell. He's in Washington, D.C. this week. I think you all have our rules packet if you have any questions.
Any questions for the marshal?
Doing a good job.
Just a question on cross deputization. Do we cover most every county? Do we have cross deputization
Yes.
now in every county?
Either
Every
through the
district?
county or the district attorney's office.
Okay, that's good.
Of course, we don't exercise the Tulsa County other than the smoke shops.
Okay. All right. Any more questions? Thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
report. Office of Attorney General, Chrissy.
I have a few. We were asked for a litigation update last time, so I want to update you on some of our big cases. As you all saw, we got a victory in the UKB 76-acre case out of the Eastern District. It was a big win for us. It said not only do we have statutory rights that we have to consent before any other tribe can have trust land within our jurisdiction under federal law, but we also have treaty rights to exclude any other tribe from taking land into trust within our jurisdiction. That was for the 76 acres that the UKB uses their governmental complex area. The 2-acre case is still pending because that was in the Northern District. So this case doesn't automatically disperse with that case. There are additional arguments there because it involves gaming as well. But our hope is that the judge in the Northern District will use similar reasoning and come to a similar conclusion. Typically, there are 30 days to appeal decisions from federal district courts. But in this case, because the United States is a party via the Department of Interior, they, by a court rule, have 60 days to appeal. So July 30th is the date on which either the UKB or the Department of Interior can appeal that decision. And we likely won't know until that date whether or not they attempt to appeal and take that to the 10th Circuit. Our opioid case is ongoing. The defendants filed a preliminary injunction action in the Northern District in federal district court, which we fully expected them to do, and we are working on answering that. They also filed motions to dismiss in tribal court, which we also fully expected them to do, and we are working on answering those as well. We're getting a lot of media attention about that case. We have seen, since we filed our case, almost a domino effect of state AGs and mayor's offices and district attorney's offices across the country filing similar cases, and I think we'll just continue to see those. So every time one of those new cases gets filed, our case is usually mentioned as part of that, so we're getting a lot of coverage on that. Sequoia Fuels, I didn't watch Sonar's report yesterday, so I don't know if she gave an update on that, but we just continue to support her office We did get the preliminary injunction there, and the parties were ordered by the judge to meet weekly to try to come to an agreement on what to do with that waste at Sequoia Fuels. And Sarah's the lead on that, but our office is offering some support to her there. The trust case that was filed in the Western District, the United States filed a motion to dismiss, and we filed, I believe last week, our response to that. So it'll now be waiting for the judge's decision on that. And then finally, a case that we're not technically a party to, but I just wanted to mention it because it's pending litigation that we've had ongoing for years, is the Tyson case that's still pending in the Northern District. The court said that we were a necessary party. We attempted to intervene in that case, and then the court said, well, we were too late, so it's only the state of Oklahoma. But that case is still pending. We've never gotten a decision from the Northern District on the chicken litter issue, so that's one that's still hanging out there. Other than that, I don't have anything to report, and I'll take any questions if you have them.
Any questions for our Attorney General's office? Yes, Counselor Buzzer.
What about the case over at the Creek Nation with the local town? Are you monitoring that very close to the one in Broken Arrow?
Yes,
Okay.
we're keeping an eye on it.
Any advice on it, or?
There's, at this point, there is nothing that we know of that indicates any application for or any potential gaming will occur there. Simply a restaurant. There are lots of legal steps that have to be taken to attempt to put slot machines someplace, and to our knowledge, none of those steps have been taken.
That's the big case out there right now, as far as the immediate area, I think. Okay, thank you.
Yes, Counselor Walkenstedt.
The opioid case, I was reading an article where I guess the second largest law firm is suing the Cherokee Nation, countersuing.
They didn't necessarily countersue us. They filed a case in federal district court asking a federal judge to enjoin our tribal court judge as well as the Attorney General's office from prosecuting the case, arguing that we did not have jurisdiction. Again, we fully expected that to be the response here. Cases that involve tribal court jurisdiction, that's the kind of method of how they come up. You sue someone who's non-Indian in tribal court, and they say, hey, tribal court, you don't have jurisdiction over us. We're going to ask a federal judge to make that finding. We anticipated that, and again, we are preparing our answer to that. So they sued us in the sense that we are a named, actually we are not named. The Attorney General Todd Hembry is named, and District Court Judge Crystal Jackson is named in their official capacities. The Cherokee Nation is not separately named as a party. They don't ask for any money or attorney's fees or anything else. At this point, they're simply asking for an order from the court that the tribal court judge doesn't have jurisdiction, but we will be answering that in court, and we absolutely believe we have jurisdiction, or we wouldn't have filed it in tribal court in the first place. And there's a long line of Supreme Court cases on when a tribe has jurisdiction over non-Indians, and we absolutely believe in this case that we've met those tests laid out in those federal cases for the 6 defendants that we have named.
I commend you guys for your efforts. It intimidates me when a law firm of that magnitude comes after the tribe. It comes down to a money issue, resources that we're limited to, and they have a lot of resources. So that's my only fear on that thing.
We have equally good outside counsel assisting us on this, and as we mentioned in the past, although we can't talk about the actual numbers in a public setting, we're not fronting any money on this. The coffers of the Cherokee Nation are not being used other than the time that the attorneys in the Attorney General's office are working on this, but we have outside counsel. These types of cases are routinely taken on contingency fee, which means if we win, they get a percentage of what we win, and that's what they trade us in order to kind of front the cost that it costs to take these types of cases. Our trust case was similar. There was a little bit of money put out on the front end of that. But when we have these outside counsel represent us in these cases that we think will eventually result in money judgments, they do it on a contingency fee basis, and that's a very normal type of agreement with outside counsel. So, and we've got really good lawyers as well. Some of the firms that we're working on that we mentioned last time, Boyd Schiller, and then of course Sanoski, that's represented Indian Country. They represented us for 20 years, and they do exclusively Indian Country work. So we think that our star power on attorneys matches that of the defendants in this case.
The UKB case, Chief Baker mentioned yesterday, we got great news in Cherokee Nation. We're able to, no other tribes can put land into trust within the Cherokee Nation. And so we won the UKB case. And here in Cherokee County, and some of you guys have a lot of Kituah citizens in your district, it's kind of salt in the wound whenever we're bragging or not bragging, but just being overly joyous over the victory. I think we need to be sensitive to our Kituah brothers and sisters in this cause, and maybe come up with some solutions to helping these our neighbors out.
I can't speak for administration, but I do know just from experience of being in the AG's office that there have been offers of cooperation in the past, and they've been refused.
But the offers were to remove from the Arkansas Riverbed settlement, as well as to never be able to put land in the trust within the Cherokee Nation. And if we put ourselves in their shoes and what they're fighting for, that's not a very good deal. The 99 years for $1 a year, that's a good deal. But the other little clauses, agreements outside of that, I wouldn't find agreeable. So maybe we can work with them down the road with another 99-year lease agreement and help them out somehow. But
that is way above my
I understand.
pay grade.
I'm just telling you guys, I would ask that you guys be sensitive in your celebration on this. Just for the Kituah sake, because they're hurting right now.
Well, and I do think that maybe this decision, leads to more talks about how we can cooperate, because there was some legal uncertainty in the past. They believed that they had a legal right to take land into trust within the 14 counties. We believe that they didn't, and we now have a decision on that. And maybe just removing some of that ambiguity helps the leaders of the tribe go back to negotiating what can be done to help all Cherokees. But
Sure.
I do think when you have a case pending like that both sides 100% agree and believe in their legal position, that it's hard to reach a settlement in the sense of what we can do to help each other. And now that we have some legal clarification there, tribal leadership may be willing to
And you said right
renegotiate
there,
some of
said
those
we are all Cherokee. We're all one team. There's not this team, this team. The government separated us into 3 different branches. But anyways, that's all opinionated. But Speaker, thank you. That's all I have.
Anybody else? Councilor Garvin.
Where's Todd this morning?
I am not sure. I believe he may have had a doctor's appointment.
Sleeping late.
I don't think he ever sleeps late.
Question on the motor fuels compact, how's it progressing?
So, Todd gave me a heads up that there were some questions about the motor fuels compact. There is no progress in the sense that motor fuels is not like gaming, and that it's, by its terms, it's subject to renegotiation. It automatically renews July 1st of this year, and we either automatically stay in it or we withdraw. The way the law is written, there's no opportunity to renegotiate it. So we could have withdrawn from it, and that would mean we wouldn't get the, I actually got the number yesterday, I think it was $8.2 million that we received in rebates from the state last year. And just quickly, the way that works, we don't pay taxes to the state on gasoline. The wholesaler or the distributor, the tax is built into every gallon of gas that they sell to any convenience store. So they pay that to the state of Oklahoma on the front end. The state of Oklahoma then, pursuant to the compact, rebates a portion of that tax to the tribe. And it's a complicated formula. It's based on the number, there's a base amount that all tribes get, and then if tribes actually sell gas, they get, I believe it's 2 cents per gallon sold, and then based on tribal population, they get so much per tribal citizen that lives within their jurisdiction. I can tell you that it's a good deal for Cherokee Nation. We receive the most money because we have the biggest tribal population of any tribe on that rebate. If we were, again, we don't have the opportunity to renegotiate. We could simply withdraw and the state would stop rebating that money to us. We would then be free to charge whatever taxes we wanted to on gasoline, but the result of that would be that we would put ourselves out of business, because if we raise the price of gas 10 cents from the log store down the road or the Easy Mart down the road, no one's going to buy gas from us. So again, I don't believe that there is any progress to report in that. As I understand it, we just simply allow it to renew for the next 10 years and continue to get our portion yearly rebated from the state.
Since the state is so hard up for money, though, they might want to look at this a little harder, don't you think?
Well, they also don't have the option to, the only option is that the state could cancel or we could cancel. And it automatically renews in 10 days. The state legislature is gone for the session, so my understanding is just by kind of practical operation, it will simply renew for 10 years come July 1st. I don't believe that there's, at this point in time, any mechanism for the state to try to pull out of it, or they can't change the law in 10 days. They would have to come back in and call a special session. And
in the year 2000, the council set aside about $250 million to take care of this in case it went down. So it's beginning to grow. I mean, it's been growing all these years. I'm not sure the balance right now, but it's considerable in case the motor fuels should happen to disappear. We set it aside for that purpose, and it's still there and it's still growing. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else? Counselor Critton?
Yes, on the opioid case, I just want to make sure I understand. There's no cost to the Cherokee Nation. It's contingent with the other law firms, right?
again, there is cost in that attorneys in our office and people from other departments, because we have to get information from health and from ICW, so that the time that employees have to put into it, but we are not writing checks to anyone in this case.
And if the other law firms that, not countersued, but I forgot the word you used, but if things would go bad for our team, is there any danger of any court costs type?
Not at this point, because the only thing that they're asking for is an injunction saying, tribal court, you can't do that. And if they were to get that, which I don't believe that they will, but if they were, that would kind of be the end of it at that point. Then a decision would be made by us whether or not we wish to appeal that ruling. And if there was an appeal, there could possibly be attorney's fees awarded if we were to lose the appeal. But you know, we would also have sovereign immunity claims regarding attorney's fees. That's a whole other legal issue. But outside of possible attorney's fees and an appeal, which that's a long way down the road, there's not some type of money judgment that they're going to seek from or get from us. So we feel pretty confident that the funds of the Cherokee Nation are not at risk in this case.
Yeah, thank you.
Very good. Counselor Thornton?
Yes, only question I have is, with this compact that we have with them, and it's renewed every 20 years, I guess, what you said. Is there anything in there to keep this council from changing the stipulations in that contract? In other words, instead of giving 2% to one department, can we give 2% to another department? Or is that written in stone?
No, so the compact with the state just talks about how the money comes back to us, how we then spend that money. There may be some general that it has to go to education or law enforcement. I'm not really sure on that, but the percentages that go to different departments and different funds within the Cherokee Nation, that's all by Cherokee Nation legislation, and that can be
That's
changed.
set by the council,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's not, the state doesn't say we have to spend this much money
Oh,
on
okay.
this
Then we can,
fund.
the council, I won't be here, but they can increase the education, or they can increase the motor fuels to highways or roads or whatever.
I mean, that-
Okay.
That would be part of the
Can they
budget
do-
process with treasurer.
Can the council do that at any time?
Well, I will
During the budget process.
I will echo what a treasurer would probably say at this point, that it should be done while we're doing budgeting, because you don't want to, in the middle of the year, change an established budget to redirect funds. But I think during the budget process, that tribal council could change the way that the motor fuel rebate is distributed between different groups within the Cherokee Nation.
The way our health and roads and, just housing is going, education, you all may want to take a look at that to see if you want to shift it around a little bit. Maybe cut down marshals. But anyway, I'll, thank you very much. You answered my question.
I had the privilege of signing off on that 20 years ago. And it was based on our population, then it's based on the amount of fuel we pumped in the last quarter of that year. And all we had was this little Conoco station at that time. And the 5 tribes went out and used our leverage as the 5 tribes to negotiate that with Governor Keating. It wasn't popular at that time because people kept arguing, you're giving up our sovereignty. I was always taught you exert your sovereignty. You don't sit back and hold on to something, you exert it. And that's what we did. And we needed revenue at that time back in '97. We didn't have much coming in to Cherokee Nation. We were looking at bingo at that time. So it was been a good deal. The basic, I think, agreement that we had was for economic development, law enforcement, housing, education. And that was the gist. But the council came back later, like Councilor Garvin was saying, and reprioritized the needs of the council and the tribe. So yes, that can be done. We'll just have to get with our treasurer and see if we want to prioritize those needs.
That was probably one of the best things that ever happened to this.
Well, at that time, it was a good deal, and we had a governor, and we had a lot of tribal members that owned convenience stores and oil and gas companies. It wasn't very popular because we were going against our own tribal members at the state level there. So it wasn't just we go off and sign, they started giving us money. It were debates, there were disagreements, it wasn't a very easy time to negotiate this compact.
And
But
it
we
is a
came out ahead
really
on it.
good deal, because we don't sell the most gas of all the tribes, but we
Yeah.
get the most money of all
Yes.
the tribes, because it is based partially on gas sales, partially on tribal population within your
Sure.
jurisdiction. So
We could never recoup that amount, no matter how many convenience stores we had. This is the best deal.
But Joe, back at that time, and you brought up bingo. Well, bingo wasn't paying the tribe anything when you got in there.
No?
And it took about 3 years for you to turn that around where they started paying. The only people that was paying and was helping this council receive their money and their paychecks was smoke shops.
Smoke shops.
And that was
A
it.
little bit of lease land. They were.
Joe got this going on that, so
Anyway,
I
it's a
appreciate
good
that,
deal.
Joe.
Well, yeah, you were on our board. It's a good deal. Yeah, Counselor Wongstick.
And I appreciate you doing as well, Joe. So this formula, is this a year by year, or is it whenever you sign the contract, it's based off the population for that year, and it's set in stone for 20 years?
No, it's adjusted yearly,
Yearly.
because actually quarterly is when we get paid. So
Okay.
every quarter they look at how many gallons sold, what the tribal population is, and those payments come in quarterly.
And it sounds like a dumb question, but JOM is like that. JOM is based off of funding frozen back in 1995, and so that's the reason I asked that question.
No, this is, we
other-
get quarterly reports on how many gallons are sold and how many citizens live within the jurisdiction, and then the number that the state pays us back. Now, I don't know if they adjust quarterly on the citizens,
Yeah,
that may just
I
be
know what you're
yearly,
talking
but
about.
it's looked at every year.
It's a moving number. Okay. The other thing I was wanting to ask was, shoot, what was it? Speakers, I forgot my question. So
That's okay.
go ahead. I had going.
Good report.
I'll stay here
Chrissy.
through rules if you
Yeah, I'll
remember.
ask you after.
Thank you.
Okay, good report. Next, we have Gwen Terrapin.
Good morning.
Hi, Gwen.
Okay, under FOIA, we had 3 new requests, so now we have 6 in there. And we had 2 GRA requests, and those have been answered, so there's none outstanding there, but there are 3 outstanding on my FOIA request. And those will be answered shortly. And the website's been updated, and you all should have received a copy of all the requests that we've had so far today.
Any questions for Gwen? Good report. Tax Commission, Sharon Swepston. Sharon brings in the money.
We try. I do believe you have my report in front of you, and I'll try to address any questions you might have.
Questions for Sharon? Yes, Counselor Baker.
Yes. Here's a message I got from one of our Oklahoma City Cherokee citizens. And she says, I've been trying to get some information from the Cherokee Tag Office about getting Cherokee vehicle tags for my vehicles, and what I've gotten is not very clear. First time I contacted them, they said I had to bring my vehicle to one of the tag offices listed, but it's not easy to do that. I then got a notice about the community event in Potluck in Midwest City, which is later today.
Right.
And it said representatives from the tag agency would be there. I called today twice. The first time I was explaining what I needed was disconnected. The second time, the person said that you could not get a tag at the event. And then I asked if I could do it by mail, and the answer was, I guess.
I don't know who they're talking to.
I said, this is not very helpful. If I could do it by mail, then what is the procedure? As a form did not make a lot of sense. Thank you.
Okay.
So I went on the website.
I sort of said, we have a tag office email, and the young lady that answers that is over in my office, and I see all of those emails, and I also see the responses that goes back. So if she wants to send an email to that, or you can give her my number and have her call me directly, and I'll get someone to help
Okay.
her. But Andy will be at the event, and you can't buy a tag at
Right,
the
I
event,
know
but he
that.
can give her all the information, so he will be there this afternoon.
But I was going to suggest perhaps, because I looked at the website, you could have a special section for ordering the tag by mail
Online.
and go through the various steps,
Right.
because it wasn't clear. And then also, you may
They
want to.
limit us to how much space we can put on there, so I can ask to see if we can do that,
Yeah, I
so.
appreciate that. The other thing is, you may want to update your list of offices, because the Tulsa tag office is not listed.
Oh, it's not, it what? I don't know.
Because that would make a difference, because a lot of the people probably would go to Tulsa
Okay,
occasionally.
yes, I will make sure it gets listed. I thought it was listed, so,
Yeah.
but I will make sure that it does get listed. But if you, like I said, if you want to, I'd be happy to just give her my number and I'll try to help her all I can.
Okay, appreciate it, because I know you all were helpful and a lot of people
So-
get them, so
You
I'm
know,
not sure.
I'm not sure. Also like to know who she's talking to. That helps me too.
Right.
So.
Appreciate it, Sharon.
Good question there, yeah. All right, anybody else? Good report.
I got one.
Okay, Counselor Buzzer?
Yes.
Are those sales tax for veterans, are they online, the applications?
I do believe the form is out there, and it should be there, and they can pull that form in and bring it in, and
Under tax commission?
it's under the, yes.
Okay. That's what we're doing. Thanks, sir.
Good? Yes. All right, good report.
All right, thank you.
Self-governance, all right, she's here. It's hard to catch Karen, catch her, I think she has her own plane now.
Well, I think you have my report. If you've got any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Any questions for our self-governance person? Counselor
The
Buzzey?
NRCS that you're working on, how's that coming along, Karen? Are we about to get established?
Well, it's pending legal review right now at the AG's office, but it's still moving. We did have a visit with the NRCS people here last week with regard to our forestry project with the loblolly pine up at Kenwood, and there is going to be a site visit there on July the 10th.
Oh, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah. So hopefully we begin to move. That's the most important thing.
Will this produce funding for a staff person once we get this compacted?
Yes.
And what about the forestry now? I've been trying to do something, I'd like to have seen something done years ago about thinning.
That's one of the things they're going to be looking at when they go up for the site visit. There's 3 people from the USDA office, and then of course Bruce's staff will be there. So they're going to do a site visit and see. And that's one of the things they're going to look at is the thinning and the control burn to burn the under.
I know we haven't had a control burn up there for years and years. And actually, I think we just kind of quickly even far.
But there's so many acres of them that we need to get, that we're looking at trying to do something there.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. Thanks, sir.
That's good. Any other questions for self-governance, lady? That's good on that NRCS. I think that's going to be such an asset to our tribe that we've overlooked in years past. I appreciate you working on that.
We're looking at several other things right now, but that's the one that we're targeting right now to move forward with.
Okay. Thank you, Ken.
There's going to be a board, correct, on this?
Pardon?
There'll be a board form for
On the
this?
conservation district, yes. There'll be, when the legal review's done and we get it moved forward, then there will be a board established.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Good? All right. Next report, Gaming Commission, Mr. Jamie Hummingbird.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
You're truly fortunate to be in my presence today. Sorry, I've got a little coffee in me and feel a little saucy.
Yeah.
I do believe my report made it into your packet this time around. And there's just a couple of things that I wanted to add to that. We've had a recent publication from the NIGC in which they're trying to clarify some language that I think I reported on a couple of months ago about our Class 2 games that are subject to grandfather provisions under the current technical standards for the NIGC. They put a draft set of standards out there that would, I believe, in reviewing them over the past couple of days, has promise for tribes in the sense that under the current regulation, there is what we refer to as a sunset provision. It is a date that has been set in November of next year by which any system, any machine that does not meet the current technical standards would have to be removed from play. And that is something that we've been dealing with since 2008, and we've dealt with the NIGC on previous rulemaking attempts in 2013 and gotten that date extended out to 2018. However, the systems themselves do not pose and have not posed any type of problems. There have not been any compromise in integrity or gameplay or any fairness to the patrons. And the tribes have felt that that date, that November 2018 date, was an arbitrary timeline in which they being the NIGC, wanted to get games up to this current technical standard. Since the games have been viable and have remained a key part of tribal gaming facilities across the country, tribes have been advocating for the removal of that sunset provision. Happy to say with this draft language that they have put out for comment last week, that they have removed that sunset provision. They have put a little bit more onus on tribes to do tracking and annual reviews and certifications. Those things are, most of the things that they are advocating in this proposed rule are things that we currently do, things that we've been doing for a number of years. So we feel confident that we can meet those requirements. There are a few other things that we're going to be having a conference call on here in just about an hour and a half. I'm working on with a committee on addressing this issue between the National Tribal Gaming Commissioners and Regulators Association, as well as National Gaming Association, and some local and some national organizations. So we're hopeful that this draft will go through. Comments are going to be due to be submitted to the NIGC on this draft by July 15. We will draft some comments of our own and submit for them to consider, but I think there's a lot of promise in the document that they put out there. With that, I'll take any questions.
Any questions for Jamie? Jamie, how is the Lewis Clark settlement there? How's that going to affect our employees at Hard Rock?
To be honest with you, I don't know. I haven't even broached the subject with my counterparts over at Hard Rock to figure that part out at this point. But
I'll ask Sean when he gives his report maybe later today. But I thought I'd check with you.
Yeah, at this point, I'm not real sure exactly which way that's going to go, since it's more on the I guess the operational side of things. But
Yeah.
he might have a better answer for you. I apologize.
Okay. All right.
What's the gaming compact? When is that going to be renewed?
The gaming compact comes up in 2020. It is something I refer to as an evergreen compact, meaning that we are not necessarily required to renegotiate. It will automatically renew for successive 15-year terms. Should there be any desire to renegotiate, the compact right now allows for only two provisions to be renegotiated, and that is the percentage of the games that are being put out to the state, and I believe there's some exclusivity funds underneath there as well. But there's only two provisions. There's not a provision to renegotiate very much of anything else. But if there are no renegotiation efforts made, then the compact will automatically renew for another 15-year term.
Okay. Are you expecting us to come to the table earlier than expected, or is that a possibility?
I think it's a possibility. That's something that tribes have been kicking around for probably the last year and a half or two, trying to figure out what is best in terms of looking at renegotiation. If we need to do this, how do we need to do it, and when? Because we all know that the state is in financial straits. We would expect there would be some desire to renegotiate and possibly look at changing some terms, particularly the exclusivity payments. But with that comes, if you want something, you got to give something. So we don't know exactly if that's going to happen before Governor Fallon leaves office, or if we're going to be dealing with a new governor prior to 2020. And it's not really the regulator's choice to make, but we always stand ready to advise on any particular provision of a compact that may be looked at for modification.
What class of gaming are we not taxed on, or we don't pay any dividends to the state?
All of our Class 2 machines, we do not pay anything to the state on. All of our compact games, our table games, and the Class 3 electronic games are paid according to the percentage of the compact. 6%, up to 6% for the electronic games, and 10% of the table games. So right now, a lot of people outside of Oklahoma and inside Oklahoma, for that matter, refer to our compacts as Class 2.5 or Class 2.9 compacts, because they still deal with a lot of Class 2 type games. They're not your true, for lack of a better term, your true Vegas style games. They're not your slot machines. And
I was gonna ask, give us some examples of Class II games.
for our Class II games, the best example and most one that everybody's familiar with is our VGT games. We have about 8 other vendors that supply Class II games, but VGT is the dominant vendor in our market. Those, and the best way I can describe telling the difference between a Class II and a Class III, and it may seem a little prosaic, but it's, if you see a bingo card and a bingo ball draw on the front of the display of the machine, that's your Class II. If it does not have that ball draw and that card displayed on the front, it's a Class III.
Gotcha.
So we have roughly 48% of our floor is Class II. The other 52% is Class III games. And those are the ones that our Class II machines are doing very well. It's not to say that any other true Class III product that comes into the market wouldn't do as well, but our Class II games do very well.
Is there any possibility, and I don't want to stick it to the state, but what if you increased your Class II gaming?
That is also something that we've seen a lot of, and even our footprint used to be classically 60-40, 60 compact, 40 Class II. That has edged up in percentages over the last couple of years just because of the performance of our Class II machines. We have seen some tribes here in the state that have opened up exclusively Class II facilities. And we've seen a growing footprint amongst the tribes in the state where Class II is concerned. So those games are getting a little bit more presence within all tribal facilities.
Appreciate that. That's interesting. Thank you, Speaker.
And you have to remember, you have to keep that good rapport with the state in these compacts. So you couldn't really just go completely Class II and keep that good relationship. There's there's the word compromise in there somewhere. Councilor Buzzer.
Jamie, what about Fair Meadows? Fair Meadows, do they get a lot of patrons over there, or do you not?
I don't know what their patron count is. Of course, I know whenever they do have the big races, that's when they get most of their people as a influx. But I don't know their.
And what is our payment based on there? Is it just a certain amount that?
And our payments are the between us, the Osages, and the Creeks. There is a certain amount that is due to Fair Meadows. I believe $2 million. I believe. I'll have to verify that. But our portion of that flat rate is dependent upon the number of machines we operate in a month.
I see.
So if we have more machines than Osages or Creeks, then our individual payments will be a little bit more.
Is that based on a compact with the state? Or
Yes.
It is.
Yes.
So that's probably never going to go away. They'll keep it open regardless.
So long as Fair Meadows is open, that will not go away. And all indications are that they're going to probably be open for the next at least couple of years.
Until horse racing goes completely like it does, so. Okay, well, I just wanted, I know that we put a pretty payment to them every month, so.
Yep. Yeah, and it averages around 52,000 or so a month. Just depends. And we look at those calculations just to see what the Creeks and the Osages are doing, make sure we're doing our fair share.
Thank you. Thank you.
What's the tribe of Broken Arrow? The Creek Charter?
Kialigi.
The Kialigis.
Mm-hmm.
So, the Kialigis being a federal charter to the Creek Nation,
Right.
has there been history of other federally chartered tribes gaming?
The Alabama Coshada, I believe.
Laco, Alabama Coshada.
Laco. I believe they have theirs also in their communities. The way I've always heard them referred to is the Creek communities have gaming operations, so that would be Thoptalaco and Alabama Coshada. It seems like there's a couple of others, but right now I can't say which ones they are.
So the road's already been paved for some federal charters to start gaming?
Yes, it is possible. It's a different road than we would take, obviously, but it is possible.
Okay. All right, thank you, Jamie.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Speaker.
Anybody else? Good report.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, we have Human Resources, Dr. Nathan Morton here.
Good morning.
Morning.
I was looking at the job board this morning. It looks like we have 38 jobs posted on our website for Cherokee Nation. And had 13 people in orientation, and that's kind of average for a Monday morning. And also, between those two things, we have around 250 job requisitions that are in the process from requisition to their orientation date that are floating around at various stages of completion. Does anyone have any questions?
Yes, Counselor Walkenstick.
The Sequoia High School teachers, I know they're on contract, but they're having to fill out timesheets all throughout the summer. Is there a way to eliminate that process? Or have you guys talked to Ron Ethers and Leroy Falls to?
So they're doing timesheets during the time that they're off on summer break?
Time, yes, sir. I'd like to find a way if we can eliminate that process, because teachers are having to come back into school and drop the timesheets off, and superintendent's having to sign off on all of them all summer, just, so.
That may be a payroll question, but I'll pass it on.
Okay, all right, thank you, Nathan. Thanks, Bree.
Yes, Counselor Hargis.
Nathan, I was just wondering, I was looking at the number of terminations, and on the voluntary terminations, does that include employees that transfer positions, or is that just employees that left?
I'll double check, but I think it's left through resignation, retirement, other jobs, but I'll double check for the numbers.
Would you add a line, or could you add a line that includes the number of transfers, employee transfers?
Okay. I will check to see what it would take to do, and I may have to run a report. Are you talking about transfers
That
just
transfer
within?
positions
or
just within the
to-
nation.
Okay, not the corporation or the housing
No,
authority?
because, I
Okay.
mean, personally, I would say that was left the nation, but just those within the nation here.
Okay,
Thank you.
Good.
thank you.
All right. Counselor Austin.
Nathan, I recently had a employee of the C&B inquire about our policy relating to leave when they adopt. We have leave when somebody has gives birth, but some companies have policies that allow some form of leave at adoption. I don't know what our policy is, and I would very much appreciate if I'd know what our policy is relating to family leave and adoption.
Okay. And do you want that prior to the next meeting? I could just send it to you. Does anyone else want it? I can put it on one
Yes.
email. Okay.
Just send
Just
it
put
to
it-
Gail.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Good report.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Can I ask Christian Emo one question that
You have to ask it here. I mean, can't you ask her during the break, or you want to make it public?
Make it public.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Back to the compact. So you mentioned the fuel, the number of gallons pumped is, so if we were to get into buy a gas company and we pumped millions of gallons of fuel, does that specifically have to be in the compact, such as before, it was just Tahlequah and Fort Gibson were the only stations we had that was pumping gas. And were those in the compact that went to the state?
It is simply the what we get on rebate from the state, so again, we don't pay any taxes to the state. We buy gas from a distributor. That distributor pays taxes on what they sell. We don't pay any taxes on gas directly to the state. The state rebates us based partially on the number of gallons of gasoline that we sell. So if we opened additional convenience stores and sold more gas, we would get an additional 2 cents. We would get that 2 cents for every additional gallon that we sell.
Does that specifically have to be in the compact, or is it just, or is that just a number we report?
It's just
to
the
them?
number sold. So if we opened 5 convenience stores and started selling gas at those, when we quarterly report the number of gallons of gas that we
That's all we
sold
wanna
to
know.
the state in order to get our rebate, we would then get that much money back, because they're collecting it. They've already got their tax money, because they get it from the distributor, and they're sending it back to us based on how much gas we sell. So we would simply, the number of gallons of gas we sell would increase when we report that to the state, and we would get our
Okay.
2 cents per gallon plus our appropriation based on citizenship.
Good. That's all I had. Thanks,
Good.
Speaker.
Councilor Thornton has a question.
For me,
Just kind of brought that up, and it's just kind of way out there in left field somewhere. But if the Cherokee Nation decided to put a well pump in to produce gas, and produce gas on its own, and it was on restricted land, and we produced gasoline on restricted land and sold it off restricted land, would the state or the federal government be able to collect any taxes off of that?
the state, no. The federal government, I don't know how they tax gas. The problem is, we didn't get the land in the state that has oil, so.
Well, I realize
The Osage
that,
got all that.
but we can probably find some more if we need to. What I'm getting at is, I know that our old treaties back say that anything produced on restricted land, and we produce it, and that we don't have to pay taxes on it.
The general rule is that state law doesn't apply, whether it's taxes or anything else, doesn't apply on trust or restricted land. So if we dug a well and there was oil produced, now you get into issues if you sell it to a wholesaler that is on state land, they may have to pay taxes, so they may not pay you as much based on what they have to pay or
We
something
have-
like that. But the state would not be able to collect from us
We have gas
directly on trust land.
stations. If they're on restricted land, we could run our own gas there. Another thing is crops. And I know this is just way out there, if it had ever happened. But let's say that we had 1,000 acres of land down here, farmland, bottom of it's restricted land. And we want to raise tobacco and produce tobacco for use. There wouldn't be any type of tax on that the way I read those treaties.
So
Go to
there's,
federal government or
with
state
tobacco,
either.
that's separately, and again,
Yeah.
if it was grown on trust land and it was sold to tribal citizens,
Mm-hmm.
the state wouldn't have any way to do that. But what
Well, from way
we
I
sell to
see-
non-Indians, the state can tax it.
From the way I see the treaty is, the federal government wouldn't have anything to do with it. Where I read it.
Likely not, and I don't know what, if any, the federal government taxes tobacco.
It's in
It's a state issue.
1866 treaty.
It's a state issue, but the federal government would still, certain laws regarding, what can go in cigarettes and how you have to advertise them and that type of thing would likely still, may still apply to us. But we have to pay taxes if we sell to non-Indians. So that's the whole reason we have the compact
That
on
isn't what
tobacco
the-
and fuel.
That isn't what the treaty says.
That's what the Supreme Court says, though.
Well, it's-
That's why we do
Supreme
these
Court does.
compacts, because the Supreme Court has ruled that tribes can sell to Indians, not only their tribal members, tribes can sell to Indians and state taxes don't apply.
Yeah, but you're talking about a tobacco that we don't raise that tobacco.
Even if we raised it, if we sold to non-Indians,
It doesn't.
the United States Supreme Court has said that the states have a right to collect, whether it's tobacco, sales tax, possibly any other type of tax you may have. If non-Indians are involved, that the state has an interest in collecting that tax. If you're selling to Indians, and the legal definition, members of federally recognized tribes, then state law doesn't apply. And again, the reason we do these compacts is because we don't want to have to
I'll have to look
ask
that
every.
over again, because I think some of these statements you're making may be incorrect.
I'm
Yeah,
just repeating what this United States Supreme Court has
Yeah,
said
you
about
have our
taxes.
treaties, then you have the Supreme Court.
All right, the court interprets treaties, and we are bound by those interpretations.
If it wasn't for Supreme Court, there's a lot of stuff we could do.
Wow.
All right, thank you, Chris.
Read it over again.
All right, none old business, moving down to new business. Counselor Austin, you got it.
Yes, I'd like to actually ask for this to be tabled for a month. Mr. Merrill notified me that he had a business commitment that prevents him from being here today, and he, as well as I do, believes that he should be here for this nomination.
Okay, good point. Table for a month. Motion, second, all in favor? Okay. Counselor Garvin, you have the next one.
Yeah, this is a resolution confirming the nomination of Dave Mosteller as a board member of the Economic Development Trust Authority Board of Directors.
Is Gabe here?
Be approved. Sir.
Okay. You got a motion?
Second.
And then second. Any discussion? Okay, discussion. Counselor Crittenden?
Well, just pardon me, just while we're talking about it, I don't understand this, I don't deal with that. What is this position? And I mean, I know it says it right here, but what's the deal?
What's the question?
Just,
What do they do?
right, just while we're talking about it here, I might as well get educated, so.
Mr. Secretary, would you want to give a little brief narrative of the?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Mr. Hires?
Sure, thank you. And the Economic Development Trust Authority, that's in the Department of Commerce, and essentially what we are doing is that's the lending that you see. If you've ever had anybody that has come to you about business loans, or we also do consumer loans, the employee lending, mortgage foreclosure, and loans like that.
It goes to the board and they decide whether they can.
Correct. So
Gotcha.
we're a certified CDFI, and because of that, we have to have the board, which is the Economic Development Trust Authority. So we do all of the internal kind of workup within the office, and then the lending decisions go to the board on all of the commercial lending and all of the consumer lending. Anything over $3,500 goes to the board as well.
Thank you, sir.
Is
That
this
covers it.
position compensated?
No, it's not. It's a 5-person board, and it's not compensated. And usually, that's because a lot of the people on the board are commercial bankers or bankers, and they can use some of their credits there with some of the things that they're doing in the bank and some of their federal requirements. So we don't compensate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we appreciate these people taking time to be on these boards.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, you had a motion and a second? Oh, Counselor Ross?
There's a loan committee and then a economic development board. Can you describe the difference?
Correct. So the Economic Development Trust Authority has, they internally work in their working, they have set aside a loan committee. So they come together, and that loan committee is actually making some of was making the lending decisions. Currently, the board is the loan committee, with the exception of 2 people, but both of those 2 people, well, he'll be replacing one of those 2 people. And so that committee makes the board, and then what happens is quarterly, the board comes together and ratifies their decisions. So there is a difference, but
It's made up of the same people, though.
Yeah.
it's made up of the same people.
Yeah, they're the board that do the loans. Okay.
Right.
You good, Counselor Austin? Okay, Counselor, you got a question?
Yes, sir. Have you guys looked at going into like Section 184 loans?
No, we haven't. We haven't. We're not set up to do mortgages. So no.
Okay, so what kind of loans do you guys do?
Commercial.
So we do.
Commercial, like small business?
Right, we do small business lending. So we have 3 loan categories in small business lending, and then we have consumer. So all in all, we're doing about 1,500 loans a year. The biggest portion of those are consumer loans, which are our employee, the employee loans that we do, the small loans, 1,500 and less for an employee of the Cherokee Nation or any of its entities. And then we have a consumer lending, which is called a tribal loan. So if you live within the 14 counties and you're a citizen of the Cherokee Nation, you're eligible for a loan. We also have a foreclosure prevention loan that we do. And then by and large, the bulk of our portfolio is commercial lending. And so we do a commercial lending. And so Ann and I, the executive director of commerce, she every month you get her report in executive finance, and that shows you kind of all of the lending that we're doing, and our commercial lending. And then when you get her report, I believe in community services, is that the other committee that she reports in? Yeah. That shows the consumer.
What's the most that you guys loan for small business loans?
Currently, our limit is $500,000. Now, we've never done a loan that large, but the actual ceiling set by policy, set by the EDTA board, is $500,000. But I would say that's not, our average loan is about $40,000 to $45,000. I mean, so that kind of shows you where we're.
I guess there's policies about how many Native Americans are employed through this small business?
No, we don't. Once they make the loan, we don't employ. All of our loan documentations, they do sign a minority statement, a minority statement, and so that's saying that they'll do their best to employ minority people, members of the Cherokee Nation, but we don't require that. At the end of the day, it's their business, and that's their decision on who they're hiring.
It's good to know. Thanks, Steve. Thanks, Speaker.
It's a good program. I mean, I know you guys have assisted some clients that's contacted me with foreclosures that needed help, and just $20,000, $30,000. It's a good program.
It is, and it's growing.
Yes.
The need is. It's harder to get financing through a traditional lending institution.
Sure.
It grows through.
Councilor Lay.
Thank you, Chief. And I think you said this is for citizens in the jurisdiction only, or is it outside jurisdiction?
Well, currently our target market is just within the 14 counties. So we do all of the 14 counties. So so we do all of Tulsa County, all of Muskogee County, all of Rogers County. So they don't necessarily have to live within the jurisdiction; they just have to live within the county, within the one of the 14 counties.
Okay.
So
I have one more question.
And that's set by the CDFI. We have to give them a target market, and that's what we set.
Yeah, Councilor Walkenstick.
Are these discretionary dollars or these federal dollars that these loan monies are?
They come from different pots, but by and large, they're almost all federal dollars. So we apply for the CDFI, which is Department of Treasury. We have some USDA dollars through our IRP programs and our ICDBG. So it's all fed. By and large, has started out as federal dollars.
Yeah. Won't that be a decent business venture to get into?
They're doing a good job.
For us, returning money into the Cherokee Nation, as far as using discretionary dollars, charging the interest rate, getting a return on the investment, is that?
Well, that would be up to, of course, the administration and the council and how you would want to.
Is that even a good business venture?
Essentially at that point, you're talking about a bank.
Pretty much, yes.
What a bank does is they send out loan dollars, and they, it comes back through interest, and that's how they make their money. So,
you might want to start a bank, Councilor Walkenstick.
Yeah, I'd be bankrupt.
You might want to ask Councilor Baker how that works.
Yeah.
We don't have the regulation that comes with a bank, and I think that's a good thing for us.
There you go.
So that's where I would.
Yes, Councilor
Anybody
Garvin.
call for the question?
Got a motion and a second?
Dave, by the way.
Yes.
Ariel,
Nice meeting you.
it's an honor, it really is, as a citizen of the Cherokee Nation, and the good things that y'all do, it's an honor to me.
Okay.
Appreciate it.
Got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, any announcements?
Thank you all.
Congratulations. Next meeting, July the 27th.
You got 2 business items?
No.
Need a motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Motion second. We are adjourned, and I think